What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug, and in today's episode, we have to talk about the Warriors and the Lakers heavyweight matchup last night. Before we dive into that, though, I just want to remind you guys, make sure you hit that like button for me, and if you're new and you enjoy this type of content on a weekly basis, make sure you subscribe. Listen, last night was the main event. As a Knicks fan, I know a lot of y'all are going to want to hear me talk about the Heat versus the Knicks. I was disgusted. There's no way in hell we have a game like that where Jimmy Butler isn't playing. Hats off to Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo. Shout out to everybody, but there's just no way. Gabe Vincent, how could I not mention Gabe Vincent? Shout out to them, but as a Knick fan, that was embarrassing. I am not in a position to really be that upset because we needed to win and we had to tie the series. We had no other choice. But I'm a little bit disgusted. So if we don't talk about that game or that series yet, that's why. Let's switch our attention to the Warriors and the Lakers. I just had to get that out of the way because I know a lot of people are going to be in the comments. P, what do you think about? I'm disgusted. That's what I'm thinking. Warriors, Lakers. Every once in a while, we have a postseason where the NBA Finals matchup isn't necessarily the NBA Finals. We had that matchup with the Nets and the Bucks a few years ago where Kevin Durant's foot was on the line. That felt more entertaining and more exciting than the actual NBA Finals that we had that year. So to me, that was kind of like the Finals that year. We had one of those years where LeBron was still on the Cavs and the Warriors like swept them in 4 games. But before that, the Rockets and James Harden and Chris Paul, they really pushed the Warriors to 7 games, and it felt like the Rockets could take down Goliath. That series felt like the championship versus the Warriors sweeping the Cavaliers and LeBron in 4 games. So for me, in this postseason, I feel like this matchup potentially could be our NBA Finals. This has 7 games written all over it. The rivalry of LeBron James against Steph Curry, the Warriors against LeBron James, Anthony Davis being able to potentially rewrite how people feel about him as a player. He can go into the category of being a top 5, arguably the best player in the game if he continues to play like he did in game 1. You got Steph Curry. You know he's going to have a moment coming off that game 7 against the Sacramento Kings where he had 50. We know he got one of those games in the chamber. Klay Thompson, game 6 heroics is always in the shadows. Draymond Green. It's so much in store in a series like this. Even guys like Jared Vanderbilt, for a second. I feel like when teams have runs that the Lakers can potentially go on or the Warriors could go on a run, whoever wins this series is probably going to go to the finals or have a really good chance. I don't want to sleep on Denver because Denver's over there handling their business very, very well against a good Phoenix team. But you have guys like Jared Vanderbilt. I feel like if the Lakers went on to win a championship or played in the finals, and 15 to 20 years from now, there's going to be a Laker fan who's going to be telling their kids about this team or watching this particular team or this postseason run. And yeah, LeBron is going to be known. People are going to talk about LeBron. Anthony Davis is going to get talked about. D'Angelo Russell was a former top 2 pick. But then every team like this has that guy that doesn't get talked about but was like a fan favorite, which is like Jared Vanderbilt. I think guys like him have an opportunity to become a franchise favorite. You know what I mean? Where 20 years from now, they may not ever make an all-star game, may not ever get a max contract. Their jersey may not hang in the rafters, but it's like, I remember that dude and we would not have won without him. He's like a hero in the culture of a team. And for me growing up, I rooted for Kobe, and they had a championship year. I love Lamar Odom. I feel like Lamar Odom was that for me as a childhood. But, like, yeah, everybody's going to talk about Kobe. He's going to get the Finals MVP. He's the face of it. Pau Gasol is his sidekick, obviously. Bynum was even getting some love and attention. But Lamar Odom was that guy for me. And I'm sure a lot of y'all who have had teams that won championships or whatnot, y'all going to be in the comments saying the same thing. Celtics fans with the big 3, some of y'all probably really love Leon Poe or Glenn Big Baby Davis or Nate Robinson or something like that, James Posey. I'm trying to think of other teams. Warrior fans, y'all may really love Sean Livingston. You know what I mean? And the mid-range game he had. Or the Cavalier team, y'all may really love, I don't know, Iman Shumpert that year that y'all won. It's always those guys that aren't the face, but inside that culture or that fan base, everybody loves him. And I think guys like Jared Vanderbilt can go and make a name for themselves. But like I said, battle, a heavyweight battle, I'll say. Sorry. Anthony Davis, all week long, I've been talking about what this could be for him. If he takes that torch and the conversations that he can start and a narrative shift that he can change based off how he was viewed for the last few years. We've all known Anthony Davis has this talent. We know what he can be, and I think that's why a lot of people, including myself, have been so down or so frustrated with him at times, because when you see him and you see the talent and when you see it put all together, you're like, bro, this dude should be undisputedly or arguably the best player in the game. There's not much on a basketball court that Anthony Davis, that Giannis can do that Anthony Davis can't. So when you see Giannis have all of these conversations, all these accolades and everything like that, I look at Anthony Davis and I'm like, man, we should have those two battling it out. And I think this run, in order for it to continue, Anthony Davis is going to have to be healthy. And he's going to have to take the reins of the Los Angeles Lakers from LeBron James and take the torch or get past the torch, however you want to phrase it. And he's going to have to be a guy who's capable of having 30 points, 23 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks in 43 minutes. That's going to have to be Anthony Davis. And to see him put it together on the road in game 1 was magnificent for me. And to hear LeBron James talk about him, to hear Darvin Ham talk about him, to hear his opponents talk about him at such a high level in the post-game interviews, I think should be something that Anthony Davis wakes up and builds on. And he had a thing in his post-game presser where he talked about, the opinions of everybody don't really matter. I only care about the opinions of the guys in this locker room and on my team. And that's a great answer, and I understand it. But you can't tell me Anthony Davis doesn't view himself as one of the best players. You can't tell me Anthony Davis doesn't hear the chatter and feels a certain way. So when I see a game like last night and I see that LeBron James again went 1 for 8 from 3, 12% from 3, 22 points, a little quiet, 22 points. LeBron didn't have a bad game by any means, but you're starting to see LeBron James be an older, aging star. We're seeing it right before our eyes where LeBron is settling and he's shooting 8 threes in a game. I feel like old LeBron probably wouldn't shoot 37% from the field against a smaller Warriors team. He might have feasted a little bit more inside, and he had some inside shots, and I was very impressed with the mid-range approach he was taking after a while, because we did see him, like I said, shoot 8 threes and only make 1. So when I started to see him getting that mid-range, he had a couple of plays on the block. I was happy to see that from LeBron, because I think that's the approach he should have in these latter years of his career, being a lot more closer to the basket versus settling. And I know he's playing with AD and you want to have the spacing or whatnot, but I think he's a lot more of a threat when he gets inside, because he's still LeBron James, physical, strong, and a mismatch against 9 out of 10 players. But Anthony Davis, he has to keep this up. And not only is it the offensive approach, but it's to be able to match a guy like Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney had another 20-rebound game, and usually that's going to be something that would dominate the headlines. Like, man, this dude Looney's rebounding. But it doesn't get a much conversation because Anthony Davis did the same thing, except he added 30 points and 4 blocks. And that was a big thing for me. It was how much was Anthony Davis going to be able to control the glass, because we know he's going to have to score. We know he has to be a threat on the defensive side of the basketball and the inside presence, so guys like Steph Curry can't hit threes and get to the paint. You can't let the Warriors kill you from outside and inside, and he did control the paint very well. Another game with 4 blocks. LeBron had 3 blocks. Vanderbilt had 2 blocks. They did very good job interior-wise defensively. There was some looks that I do think the Warriors are going to take advantage of, especially in Game 2. And for me, on the flip side, for the Warriors, on a quick switch, Steph Curry has to be more aggressive, in my opinion. And I know they're coming off of Game 7, a quick turnaround for them. No excuses. You want to give the Lakers all of the benefit of the doubt, but you can definitely see the after effects of playing a Game 7 the way that they did. And they went out and they took that game. And I know the score says that they won by 20. But for that first half or the first three quarters, the Kings really challenged them and made them work on the road to win that series in that Game 7. And specifically, Steph Curry really had to go out there and be a maniac and drop 50. So I know it's a quick turnaround, but I don't think after that I ever want to see a game where Steph Curry doesn't lead them in shot attempts. Klay Thompson had 25 shots. Curry had 24, and it's only one shot. But I just think that for this team to be successful, as we saw in the Kings series, especially in the closeout Game 7, Steph Curry has to not only be aggressive, he has to be overly aggressive. He has to lead them in shots by a little bit of a margin. You know what I mean? Again, I know it's just one shot attempt, but I think Steph Curry should be way closer to 30 shots than Klay Thompson. You know what I mean? Klay Thompson shot, 25 shots, 9 of 25, 36% from the field. Steph Curry got to shoot a couple more shots. Specifically down the stretch, I know a lot of people talked about it on Twitter. I even threw a little couple memes out there with the Jordan Poole shot. It's not that Jordan Poole's shot was bad. He had it going. He had 6 threes of his own, 6 of 11 from 3, 54% clip. Very impressive in the way he's played in the last series. You're happy to get this out of him, especially in Game 1, because you're going to need it. But when you have a guy like Steph Curry on the floor with you, who's been as magical, who's been as good as he's been, especially coming off of a 50-point performance, I don't want anybody else to take that last shot. I don't. I don't want it to be Klay. I don't want it to be Poole. I don't want it to be Wiggs. I want it to be Steph Curry. I'm living and I'm dying with Steph Curry being the guy to take that shot. And if it had to be anybody other than Steph, I probably want it to be Klay. So I was a little disappointed in that shot attempt. Disappointed for a couple of reasons. I think there was a lot of time there. I think Jordan Poole got overly excited. I think he was a bit far. That's a very, very deep shot to take with the game on the line. And they had a timeout to use. And I feel like with the time that they had, as soon as Steph Curry got doubled, I think that would have been a good time for Steve Kerr to maybe call a timeout and draw something up. Steve Kerr and the Warriors are fantastic with their execution, especially coming out of a timeout. And I think because you had Jordan Poole make 6 threes, because you had Klay make 6 threes, because you had Curry make 6 threes, you would have been able to give yourselves a better look and put a lot of pressure on the Lakers because you had legitimately 3 options. We know the favorite and first option is going to be to get to Steph Curry, but you could have came up with something that had a couple of counters to maybe get Klay a shot, to get Jordan Poole a better, closer shot, some type of split. I don't know, but there's actions that the Warriors have that they ran in this game and that they ran all King series where you have to pick your poison, and 2 people go after Steph, and now Klay has a look or Poole has a look. I just prefer something much better than a heave, as they call it, from Jordan Poole to close out the game. There's also going to be a decision that I think is going to have to be made with the Warriors, and it's tough. It's a very tough decision, but they're easier to match up with Kevon Looney and Draymond Green being out there. And the problem is Draymond Green is the engine for this team. Defensively, he's the communicator. He roams around. He does so much stuff defensively that doesn't show up in the box score. And Kevon Looney has been magical on the rebounds. I mean, again, last night he had 23 rebounds himself. He had 5 assists himself. And he matched Anthony Davis there. The only place he didn't match him at was the scoring and block column. He didn't block a shot, and he only had 10 points. But he had 23 rebounds and 5 assists. And 7 of those 23 rebounds, of course, were offensive. And when you are the Warriors and you have the shooters that they have, for him to be able to give you 7 second chance looks, that's very crucial. But I don't think he can hang with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a far more different matchup than Sabonis. Anthony Davis has a post-up game. He's a lob threat. He can hit the mid-range. He can drive the ball at you. He can pick and roll. He can pick and pop. That's a lot for Kevon Looney to handle. And I think in Game 2 and going forward, they may have a few more looks where Draymond is matched up with Anthony Davis. And I think that puts Kevon Looney more so on Jared Vanderbilt, and maybe he slides over and help, but they prefer to have Draymond as the helper. And if he's helping off of Anthony Davis, I think you only are creating more opportunities for Anthony Davis to be aggressive and be that scoring punch that the Lakers are going to need to lean on throughout this series. So they're going to have to figure out if they want to play small Kuminga didn't get any minutes last night. Anthony Lamb didn't get any minutes last night. It was more Payton and DiVincenzo. JaMychal Green got 7 minutes. He hit 2 threes. They're going to have to figure out some type of way to maybe play a little bit smaller. Don't know how they want to do it or what way they want to do it. Because, again, Looney gives you a big presence on the glass, especially the offensive glass, and you're not going to sit Draymond Green. This team in particular, they don't have Iguodala. He's in street clothes. They don't have an Otto Porter. They don't have a Bjelica who can, play smaller and stretch the floor out, give you different looks to maybe get Anthony Davis away from the basket. They don't really have that. So it's going to be interesting to see what way and what direction Steve Kerr leans into. And then for the Lakers, I'm doubling down on Anthony Davis playing as many minutes as he did. In Darvin Ham's post-game interview, he said what a lot of coaches have said, kind of mirrored what Tyronn Lue said about Kawhi Leonard. Like, we load manage in the regular season so that when we get to these moments, we can push our dogs. We can play through our dogs because you need your top dogs to be able to play and be available. And for Anthony Davis to play 43 minutes, I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible for a guy who's getting knocked, around for not being able to be available. For him to play 43 minutes in an opening game of a series was incredible. And I think you're going to not only need that, but you're going to need a lot more of that and a lot more of availability from him because he is such a presence on both sides of the floor. There's games that we saw in the last series where Anthony Davis didn't necessarily have 30 or 20 rebounds, but he was still so effective because he had 5 blocks, 6 blocks, and he's literally controlling the paint on a penetrating point guard like Ja Morant and making everybody second guess what they're doing as they drive. And I think it's the same thing with the Warriors. Yes, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, they're not downhill players like Ja Morant, and they can really get their shots off and make outside perimeter shots. But even we saw in a clutch, there was a shot where Steph Curry tried to take it in there, and Anthony Davis got a very clutch and crucial block that I think changed the game. And Steph Curry talked about in his presser where it's like having a guy like Anthony Davis in there makes you think. It makes you think. You have to be better because I had a couple of my shots blocked, and you get in there and you kind of don't know what you're doing. It kind of makes you indecisive. So I think Anthony Davis, again, is going to be a big factor for them. But I love this for him because, like I talked about it in previous videos on the podcast, he has a real legitimate chance to get himself back into that conversation of being one of the best players in the game of basketball. With Giannis now out of the playoffs so early, Joel Embiid winning the MVP, Jokic won the last 2. Anthony Davis has kind of gotten forgotten about. But if he can go out here and put on a clinic in these type of performances in this series to knock off the former champions, and then he goes into the next round and plays against a Jokic who won 2 MVPs, and if he can outperform him or, go head-to-head with him and get the better of him defensively and offensively, and the Lakers can continue to keep the run going and get to the finals, there's no way we walk out of this postseason and Anthony Davis isn't mentioned in the top names of who was the best player in the league. And I would love to see that conversation not only for him because I'm a fan, but for the game of basketball. We need more guys challenging each other for that crown of who's the best. The NBA is at its best when that conversation is brewing. And I feel like there's been this undisputed thing where, like, yeah, Jokic may win a couple of MVPs. Joel Embiid is able to win MVP. We respect Bron and KD and Steph. But Giannis is this dominant force, and nobody is close to him. Luka and these new guys are coming up, but they ain't ready yet. Anthony Davis is Giannis's matchup to have that battle. And it's not to disrespect or discredit Jokic or Embiid, but AD can go that extra gear that Giannis can. And I think that's good for the game of basketball. I still do think the Warriors have a chance in this because, like I said, I think they're going to make a lot more shots. You cannot depend on Steph Curry shooting a low 40%. You can't depend on Klay Thompson shooting 36%. And even Wiggins. I think Wiggins was a little quiet, 15 points, 6 of 14 from the field. I think he can be a little bit more aggressive as an offensive scoring threat because LeBron is out there, Austin Reeves is out there, D'Angelo Russell. Andrew Wiggins has to be aggressive. They don't really have the perimeter defenders like that. And I think he can take advantage of some of those guys on the perimeter because Jared Vanderbilt is going to be the main guy with the Steph Curry matchup. So I want to see Andrew Wiggins be a little bit more aggressive offensively as well. He shot 5 threes. Cool. But I love when Wiggins is aggressive, trying to get to the cup and get into that mid-range shot. He has to get a little aggressive going downhill like the rest of the team because they only shot 6 free throws. They shot 6 free throws, and the Lakers shot 29, if I'm not mistaken. The Lakers shot 29. So the Lakers shot 23 more free throws than the Warriors. Now, that isn't a key or testament of refereeing. The Lakers get to the free throw line. And it was good to hear Steve Kerr say it in his postgame because we have so many fans who just run and look at a box score and like, wait, they shot 6. We shot. The refs refereeing. It's bad reffing. They got to blow the whip. No. The Lakers are a team who are designed to attack the interior and get to the free throw line. The Warriors aren't. Like Steve Kerr said, they were number 1 in free throw attempts, or one of the top teams in free throw attempts, and the Warriors were one of the teams at the bottom of free throw attempts. So they're never going to outshoot them. That's just that's the way that they play. It doesn't mean that the refereeing is bad, but I do think they have to come up with a way to not have it so lopsided. And they have to put more emphasis in trying to get to that free throw line because essentially, if you get to the free throw line, that maybe means that you're getting Anthony Davis in foul trouble. And if we look at the game, Anthony Davis, he only had 2 fouls. Jared Vanderbilt had more fouls than him. You cannot let Anthony Davis be out there comfortably just roaming and blocking shots and being a defensive presence in the interior without having any fouls. 2 fouls is way, way too low. If I'm the Warriors, I'm trying to get into Anthony Davis' chest. I'm trying to make him over-aggressively try to chase blocks, and I'm putting pressure on the rim. Even if we're getting our shot blocked, we got to keep going and keep going and keep going because those shot blocks will eventually turn to free throw attempts and foul trouble. And when Anthony Davis come out of the game, the Lakers don't really have that many options to fill the void. I mean, Wayne and Gabriel played minutes last night, and I don't even see Mo Bamba in the rotation. They don't even have him up here on the roster. Who are they gonna play? Tristan Thompson. So I would continue to go downhill confidently, smartly, and just try to continue to put pressure on the rim. Show them that you're not afraid to get your shot blocked. And the more you do that, the more the defense can collapse. More perimeter shots for the Warriors. Good job for the Lakers. Warriors, last thing I'm gonna say, you cannot allow Dennis Schroeder to shoot 10 free throws. That's ridiculous. Dennis Schroeder shot more free throws than LeBron and Anthony Davis. He shot twice as many free throws as LeBron. That's crazy. And he played 31 minutes, 19 points. 9 of those points came at the free throw line. Way too many free throws for Dennis Schroeder. Way too many. I'm expecting the Warriors to take game 2. There's no way you drop 2 first games. You got to go on a roll where you've struggled the entire year, even in Sacramento. But I'm also expecting the Lakers to try to come out and put their foot on the necks because if you can win 2 on the road and you go back to LA, even if you split, you got the 3-1 lead. You got the 3-1 lead. So if I'm the Lakers, I'm coming out. I'm looking to do the same exact thing. Anthony Davis, we're relying on you. Anthony Davis, you're going to play 40 minutes. Both teams didn't really turn the ball over, which was impressive. Steph Curry single-handedly turned all the balls over for the Warriors. He had, 5 turnovers, I believe. Steph Curry had 5 turnovers. Wiggins had 2, and Looney had 1. And that was 8 turnovers to 8 turnovers. So that's real good to see from the Warriors because we know that they can get a little loosey-goosey with the basketball. Steph Curry got to tighten that up for the next game. Oh, real quick, Miami Heat. I don't know, man. Like I said in the intro, super, super disappointing. It was good to see Julius out there because I think he gives us another fold. But honestly speaking, even if Julius didn't play, if they're down their best player and one of their third best player in Tyler Hero, one of their best scorers, we should have been able to handle that team without Julius. We have to wake up. I just feel like the Knicks haven't had that same flow and that same feel since we beat the Cavaliers. I don't know if it's the rest, the time in between, but we gotta kick it up. We gotta get a little bit more hungry. I am excited and happy and pleased with the performances we've been getting from R.J. Barrett to start this season. He's definitely a guy that we have to be able to get those type of consistent performances from in order to win this series, especially considering Julius Randle's ankle. Mitchell Robinson has to stay out of foul trouble because when he's on the floor and he's attacking that offensive glass, we can beat anybody. We can beat anybody when Mitchell Robinson is on the floor attacking the glass and being that defensive presence. We have to guard the three ball a lot better. Caleb Martin made a lot of threes. Gabe Vincent made a lot of threes. Max Strus made a couple. I think Duncan Robinson made a few. Bam was living in the mid-range. We have to get out there and challenge and attack those shots a lot better, and we have to make some. We made them when we needed to, but last series we only shot like 20-something% from three. We have to be a lot more better and a lot more reliable so that when Jalen Brunson is trying to get to his spots in the interior and they collapse on him heavy, as they've done in the first two games, he can make them pay with his pass. You know what I mean? He can use his passing as a weapon. Josh Hart knocking down threes. Julius Randle knocking down threes. R.J. Barrett knocking down threes. Emmanuel Quickly knocking down threes. We need that so that it can put pressure on them to not all collapse on Brunson, and he can be able to get in his mid-range and post up. And down the stretch, he was able to do that, and it was clutch for us, and that's why we pulled out the win. I know a lot of Heat fans are mad because some of the refereeing was questionable, but as a Knicks fan, again, I'm not complaining. We had to take what we could get. We'll see y'all in Miami. Tonight, we have, Boston and Philadelphia, I believe. James Harden, incredible in game one. For them to go inside of Boston and steal that without Embiid, embarrassing. It's almost as close as how I felt last night, except we were able to win. So I know the Celtic fans are extremely pissed about that and can't wait to try to even up this series, because the last thing Boston needs is to go down 0-2 now that Joel Embiid is returning for this game. So maybe having Embiid out there will allow them to get to the familiar game plan that they were probably expecting to play. Not that that's an excuse, because I still think without Embiid, whether you knew the game plan or it was a different game plan or whatever, different type of adjustments, there's no excuse to lose to a team that doesn't have the MVP. Simple as that. Suns got to show us something. Denver is quietly handling their business. It's not the sexiest. It's not the loudest. They do play late. I found myself watching their games and I'm in bed trying to keep my eyes open because the games are so late. So I understand what Charles Barkley was saying in the last series, like, why are they playing so late? But they're quietly handling their business. The twos of the Phoenix Suns cannot match what the Denver Nuggets are doing. You know, those tough twos are just not, they're not it. And now with Chris Paul and a potential injury, campaign, I don't think can be that much of a difference maker. The Nuggets are just overpowering, and the Suns need to step up. You know what I mean? The Suns need to step up. The last thing they need is to get swept. But the way that the Nuggets are playing, these grinded out 2003-ass games, 42-40 at halftime, the Nuggets are going to win those games every game. Every game this series, the Nuggets are going to win because Jokic can't be messed with Aiden, and there's just something missing. I know that they already don't have the depth to keep up, but Jokic is just – he's just doing this thing. And then you add in Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, KCP, Michael Porter Jr. when he's rolling. Jeff Green is making shots. Yeah, I don't know. The Suns need to get something together. As always, I appreciate y'all. NBA Weekly. I will see y'all soon. Maybe tomorrow. We definitely got to do some NBA draft talk soon. React to some mock drafts and stuff. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. I'm out. Peace.